Hello everyone, it's time for another edition of the Top 5 Most Missed Math Questions. And now for your Top 5 Most Missed Function and Coordinate Geometry Questions. Number 5. Xavier is riding on his bike at a constant speed of 15 miles per hour. What is the closest approximation of how long it will take Xavier to ride 5 miles? So there is a nice little formula, but if you weren't even thinking about a formula and you just knew 15 miles per hour and you had to think about how long it takes to go a distance, 5 is not the easiest number to think about. But if you thought about, okay, 15 miles per hour, and let's say you were trying to go 30 miles. So with those numbers, hopefully it's obvious that it would take you 2 hours to go the 30 miles because 30 divided by 15 is 2. That's how we would figure out how long it would take you to go 30 miles. So 5 miles, we know it's going to be much less, and we see small numbers as our answer choices here. The little formula you could use is distance equals rate times time. But if you didn't know that formula, you could still recognize by the same token that we really need to take 5, the distance, divided by the rate. It's like if we solve this literal equation, we would divide both sides by r, and we'd get d over r equals t. And that's really what we're doing here. 5 over 15, well, that's 1/3. The best decimal approximation to 1/3 is C, 0.33. The number 4 question. A graph of a linear equation is shown below. Which equation describes the graph? Okay, so for this one, I'm going to look first right at the graph, and I notice that the answers are also written in y equals mx plus b form, slope-intercept form. So I'm going to try to write a slope-intercept form equation for this. So y-intercept right there is represented by b, and b is 3, right between 2 and 4. I don't see a nice crossing points, but if I go to 2 on the x-axis, it looks like it's up at 7. So how much did I rise between there? Rose 4 and ran 2. So the slope is 4 over 2, or 2, which would create the equation y equals 2x plus 3. Let's see if that matches any of our choices. Absolutely. Additionally, you should have recognized that there's no way that it was A or C because those have negative y-intercepts, which means it would have crossed below the y-axis, like down here is where it would have crossed. And that certainly didn't happen. You might have, had to look a little deeper to see that it wasn't B, but you can just write the equation in slope-intercept form by finding the y-intercept and the slope. Number 3. The graph of a function is shown below. Which value is not in the range? Range. Range means possible y values. So, if we look at these y values, is z a place where these pieces of the line exist? So, I kind of draw like a horizontal line. Do I hit any of the lines anywhere? Yep, I hit the one piece here. So, 0 is in the range. It is one of the y values, not A. Look at letter B, at 3. Okay, if we look right across at 3, something interesting happens. It hits this hole here. Well, in fact, it kind of doesn't hit the hole there. It goes right through the hole there. It's a hole. So it does not hit anywhere in the graph. So we are thinking, yes, it looks like B. Personally, I would like to check all the answers to make sure that I didn't goof. Because if I find 2 answers that seem correct to me, well, then I need to look closer at one of them. So let's look at C. Line at 4. Oh, yeah, I hit the graph multiple times there. So 4 definitely is in the range. So we're looking for the points not in the range. And then 5 is here. And this one does go right through this point right there. So it is in the range, not what we're looking for. Doubly confirms, yes, we are looking for 3 is not a value in the range. Number 2, scatter plots. This takes some time and effort here. We need to find a line that's going through the data points fairly well. You got to pick a line and make it kind of go through the data points, kind of balancing them above and below. I'm going to go ahead, try to make a line here. And I like that it kind of went through this point here, which is the point 5 on the x-axis, 10 on the y-axis. And it looks like, maybe we also went through this point here. I'm going to go ahead and say if this is, 25 here, that maybe this is 28 on the x-axis, and we're counting by bigger numbers here, so I'm going to also say maybe it's 28, 28. Okay, so that gives me the points 28, 28, and the point 5, 10. So we picked 2 points on a line that's a pretty good line for this data set. We can also probably right now see that the y-intercept looks much less than 10. So B is not looking like a real answer. In my mind, it's looking most like D with that y-intercept, but let's double check to make sure our slope is much more like 0.68 and less like 0.37. We're not likely to get the same exact slope that they have. Okay, so slope equation y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So M is 28 minus 10 over 28 minus 5. So that's 18 over 23. And 18 divided by 23 is 0.78. So my line might be a little steeper than their line, but the fact that I'm steeper than either tells me I'm really not looking at A. Now, again, I'm feeling pretty confident about it being letter D, but I also want to write the equation that's going through these points. So I'm going to go into y equals mx plus b. I'm going to pick the 5, 10 point, plug 5, 10 in and our slope in, and see what I get for a y-intercept. So y value 10, m value 0.78, x value 5 plus b. So we'll multiply 0.78 times 5. I've still got it fully in my calculator, so I'm getting 3.91 plus b. And if I subtract 3.91 from both sides, I'm going to get 6.09 equals b. That's pretty close to our 6 value. So our equation should be letter D. And the number 1 most missed question: which graph shows y as a function of x? So this is all about the vertical line test. The vertical line test says if we can draw a vertical line through a graph and it hits more than once, then it's not a function. So it has to be every vertical line can't hit twice. So this vertical line hits the graph only one time. So does this one. So does this one. But this one right here on the y-axis, bing, bing, hits twice. So this is not a function. Letter B, hits once, hits once, hits once. What happens right here? There's a hole here, and it hits there. So it doesn't hit twice. So this one is looking good. It's looking like B. I like to go through and double check the others. C, boom, hits twice here. Gosh, it hits 3 times when it hits all those 3 points there. So definitely not C. D, oh yeah, hits twice again there, not D. Double confirms. Letter B, vertical line test can show if a graph is a function or not. That was the top 5 most missed questions on the PSSA practice test in the functions and coordinate geometry section. Thanks again, and check out our other top 5.